So something else weird that's going on is there's more Tucker stuff. Tucker just released this little mini documentary on the Thomas Crooks situation, and it is interesting. It was very interesting because, I mean, from the get-go, the whole thing was weird, right? The Thomas Crooks situation, like, how is he able to get on that roof? How is he able to fly a drone around leading up to the event and just nobody noticed him? Didn't he have bomb-making materials in his car? Appeared in a BlackRock commercial. Like, all this stuff had no digital footprint whatsoever. They scrubbed the silverware at his house. Like, we know nothing about this guy. Even now, till this day, we know nothing about this guy. Trump's in office now. Why don't we? This is the guy that tried to assassinate him. Why does it seem like Trump is helping the FBI cover up the very person that tried to shoot him? I don't get it. It's so bizarre to me. I'm not saying that Trump is trying to cover up the Thomas Crooks thing, but why isn't he talking about it all the time? Who the hell tried to kill me? Was like, is it just, oh, well, he did it by himself? All this stuff. He was just a lone shooter. Nothing to see here. Like, is that what this all was? I'm not buying it. It seems like that, like, from the get-go, I wasn't buying the whole Thomas Crooks situation. And now it seems that there's a lot more to the story than we were originally told. So let's go over to, again, Tucker Carlson, because he put out a little mini documentary, and I highly suggest all you guys watch it. It's only like, I don't know, 45 minutes long, 30 minutes long, something like that. But I'll play a few clips from it, and we'll talk about it. Just you guys let me know what you think. So this is a quick, like, 45-second clip.
These are videos the FBI has worked hard to make sure you haven't seen. They're from the Google Drive account of Thomas Crooks, the man who on July 13th, 2024, showed up at the Butler County, Pennsylvania fairgrounds and tried to assassinate the frontrunner, Donald Trump.
Take a look at what happened.
That day, Thomas Crooks came within a quarter inch of destroying this country. And yet, a year and a half later, we still know almost nothing about him or why he did it. That's because, for some reason, the FBI, even the current FBI, doesn't want us to know.
All right, I got another clip that I want to play. I got two more clips that I want to play, actually. This one's a little bit longer, but let's watch this one. Same documentary.
Is that on the day of the attacks, Thomas Crooks got extremely lucky. Miraculously lucky. After he arrived at the Butler County Fairgrounds on the morning of the shooting, Thomas Crooks conducted surveillance by flying his drone over the rally site. He flew that drone for 11 minutes. It just so happened the Secret Service's anti-drone system were down at exactly the same moment. What are the odds? Later that afternoon, police officers saw Crooks loitering with a backpack and a rangefinder. They identified him as a suspicious person, which he clearly was, but quickly lost track of him.
How does that happen? How is he, first of all, allowed to fly the drone around? And then you see the kid with the backpack and he's got a rangefinder? Like, that's red flags to anybody, much less the Secret Service. And they just let him wander around. No big deal.
And so Crooks climbed to the top of the American Glass.
You guys see this water tower in the background here, up in the top of the screen? A lot of people speculate that there was somebody that shot from the water tower. So I don't know. There's video of it. Looks like there's somebody up there, but I don't know. This was speculation back in the day.
Research building. That happened to be the only building in the area that did not have a video surveillance system. It was also, remarkably, inexplicably, outside the Secret Service's security perimeter, despite the fact it was very close to the stage. 2 local police officers assigned to the building saw Crooks, but they didn't report him. A third officer who was supposed to be there left early. At 6.
The infamous slanted roof, remember? That's what the director of the Secret Service said. Oh, yeah, we didn't have guys up there because the roof was so slanted. Even though after they shot Thomas Crooks, he didn't even fall off because the roof wasn't even that slanted. Let's keep going. I got one more clip. This one's a bit longer. Yeah, and I'm going to play the whole thing. So let's watch one more clip. Same documentary. I think you guys should all go watch this if you haven't, because there's a lot of very funny things about the attempted Trump assassination.
Here's what we do know. The digital comments we obtained were posted between 2019 and 2020, when Thomas Crooks was between 15 and 17 years old. They show two things. First, that Thomas Crooks was not some secretive lone wolf who never warned anyone that he was planning violence, just the opposite.
Oh yeah, this one's really weird. I'll let Tucker explain, but basically they said there's no digital footprint. There absolutely was. And you look at all his YouTube comments, and at first he was a hardcore Trumper. And then all of a sudden he flipped to seemingly becoming a leftist, like overnight.
Years before he showed up in Butler, Crooks was leaving a detailed digital trail of violent threats, including calls for assassinations and political violence. Second, they show a man who started out as a radical Trump supporter whose views on the president changed completely during COVID. The FBI lied about that fact and pretended that Crooks was a right-winger. At 11:35 p.m. on July 19, 2019, in response to an MSNBC video, Crooks wrote, quote, Ilhan Omar and others are invaders and should honestly be killed and their dead bodies sent back. At 1:17 a.m. on July 20th, 2019, Crooks commented on a CNN video. He said Donald Trump was the literal definition of patriotism. 7 hours later, he commented on an MSNBC video. He wrote, I hope a quick, painful death to all the deplorable immigrants and anti-Trump congresswomen who don't deserve anything this country has given them. That evening, on a separate MSNBC video, he wrote, quote, every one of the Trump-hating Democrats deserve to have their heads chopped off and put on stakes for the world to see what happens when you fuck with America.
So clearly a hardcore Trumper and extreme, where he's dangerous at this point, making threats, repeated threats in support of Donald Trump. And then it changes.
These sorts of comments continued for months and became increasingly violent. The following day, Crooks responded to a CBS Evening News video about the squad saying this, quote, this is going to be blatantly racist, but I hope Trump has these people murdered. Crooks openly called for dictatorship and putting, quote, Hispanics back in their place. He warned that if Democrats win in 2020, quote, they won't be in there for long because unlike the Dems, we have guns and lots of them. In one comment, Crooks noted that, quote, 50 million Americans with AR-15s will make quick work of any blockades the government can put in to protect the White House.
Here's another question. YouTube has very strict community guidelines rules. How was his account allowed to stay active with repeated calls for violence and death threats? How was his account allowed to stay up?
He left multiple references to Mao Zedong's famous line, the only real political power comes from the barrel of a gun. On September 30th, 2019, Crooks responded to comments about a potential civil war, saying this, most rioters don't bring assault rifles and body armor like we would, and we wouldn't be going to the streets, we'd be going to Washington. At this point, one user named HyperPandas responded saying, quote, law enforcement will thank you for grouping up and being so visible. It'll make your arrest so much simpler. Crooks responded saying, cops can't arrest me if they're all dead. Before adding, even an untrained man with an AR-15 is dangerous. You think Adam Lanza or any school shooter trained? Nope.
So again, how was his account allowed to stay up? He's saying that he would kill cops if they came to get him. See, I'm worried about my show getting kicked off of YouTube just from some of the things I've said in this show talking about Thomas Crooks' comments. And I also said the R word that you're not supposed to say on YouTube earlier on accident. I'm worried about my account getting taken down. He's making outright calls for violence and death threats, but his account is allowed to stay up. Why?
If you navigate to that YouTube page today, you can still see identical contextual comments and people referring to Thomas Crooks, including one user who wrote this, you were on YouTube threatening to shoot government officials. I sure hope the FBI is monitoring social media for violent nutcases. That exchange is still available on Internet Archive websites. But the FBI didn't see that before the shooting? That's hard to believe. On various occasions, Crooks openly said things like, Mueller should be hanged along with the rest of the Democrats involved in that witch hunt, and I always believed being patriotic was lining up a bunch of socialist Jews, like the ones who booed Trump, and blasting their useless brains out with an AR. And yet, in early 2020, Crooks seemed to change radically. On January 23rd of that year, he referred to, quote, Trump's stupidity. He began to mock the concept of the deep state. He suggested it was a code word used by Trump supporters for, quote, anyone who disagrees with the right wing. Suddenly, he sounded like an MSNBC commentator. In February of 2020, he called out Trump supporters as, quote, too brainwashed to realize how dumb you are. I mean, literally, you guys sound like a cult at times. That same day, he called Trump and his supporters, quote, racist. It was an amazing transformation.
So he's calling people racist now all of a sudden when he just previously left a comment that said this is going to be outwardly racist, and he made a whole bunch of racist comments before that. What the hell? Did somebody else start running this account? What happened? Why the change? This is bizarre.
That April, during the peak phase of the coronavirus lockdowns, Crooks wrote, quote, it seems that you people don't understand that sometimes public safety comes before your personal rights. Are you not willing to quarantine one member of your family to save the rest? If so, you are not a patriot and you aren't protecting anything.
So now he's a Branch Covidian? How did this happen? What the hell changed? So this is all pre-COVID. He was a radical right-winger, and then all of a sudden COVID happens and he becomes basically a leftist. What happened?
Around this time, the new left-wing version of Thomas Crooks became very critical of conservative media. He said at one point, quote, going to a Chinese New Year's party in America isn't putting you at risk for coronavirus, because, believe it or not, viruses don't spread through race like Tucker Carlson probably told you. That May, as state officials across the country overhauled election systems to promote mail-in voting, Crooks attacked Republican concerns about voter fraud as, quote, ignorant. 4 months later, in August 2020, his tone had shifted even further to the left. He said, quote, I believe the outcome will be irrelevant. In response to the same video, Thomas Crooks issued what sounds a lot like a digital manifesto. Quote, in my opinion, the only way to fight the government is with terrorism-style attacks. Sneak a bomb into an essential building and set it off before anyone sees you. Track down any important people or politicians, military leaders, etc., and try to assassinate them. Any sort of head-to-head fight is suicide, and even ambush or surprise attacks likely aren't going to end well.
Keep in mind, this is all before January 6th, and this is all before the Trump assassination attempt, obviously. That's weird. Planting the B word, like they had a pipe bomb on January 6th, these things suggesting that they plant those political assassinations, like the one he attempted on Donald Trump. That's weird.
These remarks were especially notable because they came at the final phase of Crooks's YouTube commenting. At that point, a new character emerged into the conversation, a user named Willie Tepes, who started pressuring Crooks to commit violence. For example, quote, if a gun and a badge is all that is needed, then authority obviously comes from the barrel of a gun. We have more guns than they do. There is no way we can avoid a war at this point, so you better just get used to the idea. We have nothing to lose and everything to win. And the alternative, a global police state, is unacceptable. Nothing in life is simple, but that is no argument against doing it. So who is this Willie Tepes? Unfortunately, we don't know. The FBI hasn't made any mention of him in public, although they certainly know he exists. Just days after the shooting, somebody screenshotted Tepes' YouTube account page, despite the fact he had very few followers. To the extent that he can be traced online now, you can find his username being used on a foreign Antifa website. Those sites link him to the Nordic Resistance Movement, which has been designated a terrorist group by the U.S. State Department. That's all we know. We do know, however, that Crooks's online footprint abruptly ends after his encounter with this mysterious figure, Willie Tepes. Regardless of whoever Willie Tepes is or was and what his motives may have been, who he may have been working for, there is no doubt that Crooks was ripe for recruitment by someone. From early 2019 to mid-2020, as his political views were evolving, Crooks searched for Trump more than 700 times online. He also searched for Jack Ruby, the man who assassinated Lee Harvey Oswald. He then submitted queries for craziest chemical reactions, cars running over protesters, best places for mass shooting El Paso, Trump Civil War, Orlando shooting reaction, firing an AR-15 as fast as possible, fertilizer bomb, how to make napalm, how to make a Molotov cocktail, mass shooting Canada, Oklahoma bombing, and sniper in Dallas shooting.
So Any average person knows that if you want to draw some serious attention to yourself, search on Google how to make a pipe bomb, how to make napalm. These searches, I mean, not to be too tinfoily here, but these seem like planted searches. Like, who's going to actually search these things just openly on Google without using a VPN, without, using an anonymous IP, going to the library and using that one? Like, you're really going to search how to make a pipe bomb, how to make napalm? Like, that doesn't just seem strange to me. Who's going to be that dumb?
He also searched for American Nazi Party, German National Anthem 1933-1945, Hitler's speeches with subtitles, neo-Nazis, and, quote, why gays need to go. Hate to brag, but we're pretty...
So, yeah, I suggest you guys watch that whole documentary because it's very interesting. Why aren't we learning more about Thomas Crooks? Let's continue with this whole Thomas Crooks saga that we got going. So this is a clip from Benny Johnson. This is Tim Burchett on with Benny Johnson. I don't know what this guy's background is, but he had some interesting things to say about MK Ultra. You guys know the MK Ultra program where they gave college students and other people, because they had the spinoff of MK Ultra, which was like Operation Midnight Climax out in San Francisco, where prostitutes gave LSD to their clients, and FBI agents or CIA agents, I believe actually, was on the other side of a two-way window, and they would just observe how they behaved. Well, yeah, they're trying to make Manchurian candidates, essentially. People that they could turn on and off, that would turn them on and go do something for them, and then turn them off, and they would have no recollection of what they just did. So that was the MK Ultra program. I'm sure it stopped, though. I'm sure they completely stopped trying to make a Manchurian candidate way back in the 60s. I'm sure none of that stuff has continued.
MK Ultra.
I'm going to toss to you. That's right. Yep.
They got sued. They said it didn't exist. And then they got sued, and they said, oh, it exists, but we don't use it anymore. So I don't believe them as far as I can throw the dome off the dadgum Capitol, Benny. You got a kid who's got access to guns or has some simple knowledge of a firearm. He was programmed. You're exactly right. They programmed this kid, and Kristi Noem and Cash and Bongino and the rest are reporting the facts as they know them. The facts have been buried or burned, or whoever knew is either sitting on a beach somewhere and enjoying a fruity drink, or they're dead. I would suggest they're probably dead. And this is what happens. You claim it doesn't. They label me and you conspiracy theorists, but this is exactly what we see happen. And it happens in Washington. It's happening now. It's too deep. It is. And that's why I said, I wish they could go in and just fire everybody and then just start back. But you can't do that because of security. You're going to fire some good people that are clearly have their thumb in the dike on terrorists or what have you. And that's where we're at. That's why Cash Patel and Bongino are having such a hard time. Kristi Noem, either way, I don't give a rip either way. But I think at their level, that's what's happened. And that's I don't care. You can call me a lunatic, but when the CIA says this thing, we don't have this thing, and then their asses are brought into a court of law, and they say, well, we have it, but we don't use it anymore. Apparently somebody's using it. They know to contact these people. If you look at the Muslim radicals and how they recruited them, you remember they had the American Taliban or whatever, that kid they caught, and nobody talks about that anymore. Nobody even remembers it. I think his parents were Americans. They went to the Greek church or something. That kid was programmed. And you're right. They watched the crime scene. I live in Knoxville, Tennessee, brother. If there's a murder out here, our sheriff's department's got that thing blocked off. They got a tarp over it, and they've got it, cleared. Nobody can get up on it. Nobody can contaminate the crime scene. This is Knox County Sheriff's Department and the city of Knoxville Police. And I guarantee you, my Blount County Sheriff's Department, Sheriff Wrong, all those people always close off the crime scene. This is casebook. And also one other thing, I sponsored some legislation dealing with cremation, so I know a little bit about when they bring a body in. There are probably laws in that state that they violated because they cremated that kid, I think, pretty quick, if I'm not correct. If you might, if,
Oh,
you
yes,
might
11 days. Yes.
Okay. And if there was an investigation going on, there's probably something in the law that says you cannot dispose of the body. And I think you're right. I think all of it was washed, it was planned, and we just got lucky. I'm very close. I'm related to a Marine sniper. And I called him after that. I said, "What do you think?" He said, "Tim, I could have made that shot with iron sights, without a scope, with all that stuff. We just got damn lucky." God shined his favor upon us that day. I clearly, if you don't believe that, I mean, the Bible talks about God knows if a sparrow falls from the sky or how many hairs are on your head. Dadgum, I believe it.
You are alleging that Thomas Crooks was groomed by some type of dark intel program, MK Ultra or otherwise, in order to commit on that day the act of an assassination.
I think so. I've said that all along. I've said that, and I'm glad somebody with Tucker's credibility, his ability to, and this my dog snores over there. Sorry for that. That with his credibility has brought it out, because I yell this stuff all the time, and people just, it's just birch it. But look at the history. Look at where we're at in this country. Look at the deep state, the sewer as it is, and it's disgusting. And this is what happens, dude, when 12% of the population goes to the polls. They know we're so vulnerable, and we have very, very few people in the lineup that could do the damage to them like Trump. Trump's right. They're not after him. They're after us. He's just standing in the way. KO.
Yeah, but is he standing in the way anymore? That's the question. And you got to ask, is Trump's recent behavior, does it have anything to do with the fact that he barely survived an assassination attempt? Is Trump compromised, is my question. Because none of the things he's doing, aside from securing the border and what else? Like, really, what else? Like, he said he's ended a bunch of wars, but the war in Ukraine's still going on, still giving billions of dollars to Israel. We are still printing massive amounts of money. Like, what else? What are the W's? Like, really, what are the W's? Well, he ended the tariffs that he put in against beef. Like, I mean, you hear a lot of people on the right talking about these endless W's that Trump's had. What are they? I'm happy he secured the border. I'm very happy about that. But what else, you guys? Like, really, what else? What else? What other America First things is he doing? He's attacking Thomas Massey, Rand Paul, Marjorie Taylor Greene, people that are actually trying to implement America First policies. And now he's talking about how we need H-1Bs. And like, I don't get it. I don't get it. And I gotta wonder, did they get to Trump somehow? So after Tucker put out this documentary, same day, FBI decides to create a FBI rapid response page, X account. Rapid response created November 25th, 2025. I'm sorry, November 2025. They created this account the same freaking day. And the caption of Tucker's documentary says, the FBI told us Thomas Crooks tried to kill Donald Trump last summer, but somehow had no online footprint. The FBI lied, and we can prove it because we have the posts. The question is why? Story tomorrow. So just to refute what Tucker said, the FBI created an FBI rapid response account. They quote post this, and they say, the FBI has never said Thomas Crooks had no online footprint, ever. Well, here's Owen Schroyer right here. Owen Schroyer says, let's check the tape.
You're telling me at 20.
So they just said they've never claimed that Thomas Crooks didn't have an online footprint. Here's Owen Schroyer saying, let's check the tape.
And importantly, that his digital footprint is completely MIA, that his digital footprint is missing. And that how can a 20-year-old in today's time have no digital footprint? So do you have any thoughts on that? Any comments on that? And that'll be my last question.
Well, 4 years of doing protective intelligence investigations with the Secret Service, interviewed probably hundreds of people who have credibly threatened our protectees. I've never seen anything like it. If you would have told me it was a 60-year-old guy who had lived most of his life without a computer and for the last 10 years had been planning this, hard to believe, but digestible. You're telling me a 20-year-old kid who's grown up in the digital era figured this out when he was, 13? To never get an online presence? We've seen nothing. Nothing. We're now 6 weeks in. There's not a Facebook photo. You know, it's incredible. We know every single thing about these shooting incidents when there's a political narrative to be had by the media and the other side. We do. You know who their high school girlfriend was. Sadly, you know everything about these people. We know nothing about this guy. And sophisticated explosives, we have this massive law enforcement bureaucracy. No one's got him with an online search history at a library saying, how do I build this? He's 20 years old. It just defies logic.
So we just saw his post. Now, some of you might be saying, well, this is Dan Bongino before he became deputy director of the FBI. Well, let's look at the fact check, because the FBI rapid response gets hit.
And importantly,
they get hit with a fact check immediately. It says, on July 30th, 2024, Senate hearing, FBI Deputy Director Paul Abate disclosed a social media account believed to be associated with the shooter. Abate went on to describe a general absence of all other information to date from social media. So they had nothing on him. Let's go to Glenn Greenwald now. So Glenn Greenwald takes that same post and he just says, the FBI created a new rapid response account to respond to Tucker's reporting about all the information the FBI continues to hide about the Trump shooter Thomas Crooks, and it got a community note on its first day. Has any other account been community noted in its very first day? So, like, what is going on here? What is really going on with the Thomas Crooks situation? Trump's in office. They've got Kash Patel. They've got Dan Bongino in there in charge of the FBI. They've got Tulsi Gabbard as the DNI. Why is it, like, if you had an assassination attempt against you and you barely survived it and you become president and now you're in control of all the intelligence agencies, are you not going to be grilling them every day about, I want everything to know about the person that tried to shoot me? Everything about him. I want to know everything. But you don't even hear Trump talk about it at all anymore. Like, nothing from him. It's bizarre. I'm not trying to say that Trump's trying to cover up his own assassination, but it's very strange that he's so quiet about it. And that's what makes me want to ask, did that have something to do with getting to him? Like, did somebody get in his ear and say, we won't miss next time type thing? Yeah, sure. That's like a tinfoil brain thing to say, but I can't help but thinking it. Because it's so bizarre. Everything around this shooting was so bizarre. And you heard them mention the Vegas shooting that just, remember, that whole story just disappeared. Doesn't add up. All of, like, I should do a whole episode on the Vegas shooting because that one is still off the charts bizarre. So this whole thing's just weird, you guys. It's extremely weird. All right, we're almost done here.